You know that feeling, that pressure you can't quite put your finger on? It's not from one big, obvious thing. It's more like a slow, quiet stacking up of moments, a constant, low-level hum of anxiety that's kind of become the background music to our lives.
And this idea right here, that the real weight isn't in any single thing, but in how it all gathers, well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We're going to look at these quiet tensions of modern life and figure out how to find our balance again. It's a really important topic, and if this is the kind of stuff you care about, taking a quick second to subscribe and hit the notification bell really helps us keep these conversations going.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll get a handle on this unseen weight. Then, we'll look at the glitches in the system, the digital stuff that makes it all feel so much heavier. After that, we pivot to the solution, the act of stepping back, which leads right into finding strength in stillness. And we'll wrap it all up with a really powerful idea. You exist where code stops. Okay, let's start with part 1, the unseen weight. This is all about nailing down that quiet tension, that feeling we all seem to share that everything's just moving a little too fast. It's the kind of pressure that builds up without making a sound, that sense that you're always trying to catch up to a moment that's, well, already gone.
And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. Expectations, plans, demands, they all hit our screens instantly. But our feelings, our own readiness, well, that stuff travels at a human pace. And that creates this constant gap, this quiet tension between where we are and where the world tells us we should be. It's a recipe for feeling unsettled.
So now we're moving into section 2, glitches in the system. And what's so key here is realizing these tensions aren't just personal failings. It's way more useful to see them as, well, bugs in the operating system of our digital lives. Let's take a look at a few of them.
Okay, this one is huge. We've somehow started confusing digital signals with actual, real closeness. A text reply that takes a little too long, a post that doesn't get a lot of likes, our brains immediately jump to the worst-case scenario. We start thinking it's personal, that there's some kind of coldness there. We're basically trying to read emotional tea leaves in our notifications, and most of the time we're getting it wrong.
And this is the perfect flip side to that. Real, genuine care, it usually doesn't come with a notification. It's quiet. It's your cousin saving you the last of your favorite snack. It's a parent glancing at their phone, not waiting for a text, but just hoping you got home okay. It's someone just being there for you even when you're both silent. That's the real stuff, and it happens completely offline. And here's another one of those glitches. We have this non-stop fire hose of global news pointed right at us, all day long. But our brains, they're wired to deal with local threats. So what happens? Our fear response system grabs some disaster happening thousands of miles away and makes it feel like it's an immediate threat to our own street. The scale gets totally out of whack.
Wow, this is such a great way to put it. It perfectly describes how our anxiety works now. It finds the smallest possible risk, blows it completely out of proportion, and slaps a terrifying clickbait headline on it, all while ignoring all the other, much more likely, positive things that could happen. Just because that alarm goes off doesn't mean the headline is true.
And of course, there's this classic glitch, the endless comparison game. You're scrolling through your feed, seeing all these perfectly polished scenes, and that little voice starts whispering that you're falling behind. It's like smoke seeping under a door. You barely notice it at first, but soon it fills the whole room. We end up measuring our real, messy, beautiful lives against someone else's highlight reel, and that is a game you can never, ever win.
Okay, so we've talked about these glitches. Now what do we actually do about them? This brings us to part 3, which is the real turning point here, the act of stepping back. This is where we stop just diagnosing the problem and start actively finding our way back to some inner clarity. And it all starts with one simple move.
This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When your mind feels so full of digital noise, all this information, all this comparison, how in the world do you get a moment of peace? How do you wipe the fog from the glass?
Well, the answer is often way simpler than we think. It's not about running away from the world. It's just about taking back control of your own attention. First, just notice you're doing it, that endless scroll. Then, make the choice. Put the phone down. And finally, just come back to yourself. Feel your own breath. This isn't weakness or avoidance. It's a real act of quiet strength.
Now this idea is a total game changer. So often we jump to diagnose ourselves with deep anxiety or sadness when we really just need to check our own personal battery levels. We need to check the absolute basics first.
Because here's the thing, stress is an incredibly convincing liar. It will tell you your whole world is falling apart, when in reality, you might just be dehydrated. So before you buy into that heavy, stressful feeling, just run through this checklist. Have I had any water? Did I actually get some rest? When was the last time I ate? Have I seen any sunlight today? Tend to your basic needs first, and then decide how you feel. It's a simple little check-in that can change everything.
And that leads us perfectly into our fourth section, finding strength in stillness. Because when you start practicing this, stepping back, checking in with yourself, you begin to build a totally different kind of power. It's not loud or flashy. It's a quiet strength that's rooted in self-acceptance.
Now let's be super clear. When we say quiet quitting the chaos, we are not talking about your job. We're talking about quiet quitting the chaos inside your own head. It's about stepping out of that frantic, internal race against some impossible standard of what your life is supposed to look like. It's about realizing that real progress isn't about speed, it's about being present.
And that's really what it all boils down to. Just moving forward. Slowly, deliberately, that's what counts. That one small step is so much more meaningful than any desperate sprint towards some finish line that isn't even real. This is where the power is, in replacing that constant need for approval with a real, deep sense of self-acceptance. It's okay to be slow. It's okay to be a work in progress.
You know, we feel this immense pressure to be on all the time, constantly available, always connected. But what if real strength looks like the opposite? What if it's about being a little unavailable, being quiet, being hard to find? These aren't signs that you're hiding. They're signs that you are protecting your peace and taking care of what actually matters. And all of this brings us to our final and, I think, most empowering section. After understanding the pressure, learning to step back, and finding strength in being still, we finally arrive at the core truth of what it means to be human in this digital age.
Let's be honest. The digital world is pushing us relentlessly toward this weird, machine-like idea of perfection. Our faces get filtered, our lives get staged for a photo, and pretty soon, our own self-worth starts to feel like it's measured in pixels and likes. The pressure is to be polished, predictable, and, well, perfect. So what's the antidote to all that pressure? It's this idea of radical self-worth. This is the big mental shift where you stop seeing your imperfections as things you need to fix, and you start seeing them as the very things that make you you. Your humanity isn't a bug in the system. It's the whole entire point.
And this is just such a beautiful truth. An algorithm can't feel a pang of nostalgia from an old song. A machine doesn't have a favorite smell that reminds it of childhood. All your messiness, your uncertainty, your ability to feel things so deeply, those aren't flaws to be optimized. They are the unmistakable signs that you are human. They are what make you alive.
So, let's end on that thought. Your truest, most real self. It begins right where the algorithm gets confused and gives up. You exist where the code stops. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If any of this resonated, please do consider subscribing, and I would genuinely love to read your thoughts and experiences on all this down in the comments. Take good care of yourselves.